If you're the type of person that's considering doing a like a masterclass or a self-help thing, but you haven't done one before, this is the video for you, because I'm not sure that you're going to find a better teacher at a $97 price point than Myron Golden in his Make More Offers Challenge. This is our final review. So this is a day 5 cumulative review of the whole experience. Again, as a recap, I've gone through the challenge before. I've also been in Make More Offers Live. This is Mike's first time going through the whole thing, and Mike has also just finished a book or two this weekend that was also recommended with the course. So it'll be an interesting recap to see Mike's experience. And unlike the other 4 reviews that we did day by day, this one is a little bit distanced from the actual event itself. So Myron did a bonus challenge on Saturday, and then officially ended on Friday, and today it's actually Tuesday. So we're a couple days removed, the hype and the excitement have died down, and there's more level-headed, back-to-work reality. And so with that, let's just jump in and see what are your thoughts now, having consumed the 16-word sales letter or whatever it's called.
That's right.
And then also looking back at the course, like what sticks out the most, and has your sentiment changed?
So yeah, let's first start on the course. I think the course was definitely worth the cost. So just to recap, we had done the VIP, which I would consider the middle tier. So that's where you could participate in the sessions for an hour before the general session. And we didn't actually have the ability to ask Myron questions, but we did have the ability to listen to all of the people that paid for Platinum, which was a couple $100 extra. And even that, I think, would definitely have been worth it if you had your questions.
Can I pause you on that real quick?
Sure.
So someone that's watching, how many of your questions as a percentage would you say were answered by other people asking them?
Oh, I would say maybe 80%.
Okay.
What about you?
I would assume it's somewhere around that too. That's what I was saying. The vast majority are already asked by someone else, and so I wanted to get your thoughts on that. But keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to get your...
No, that's a really good point. I think just listening to the questions, again, everybody else had pretty much the same questions I had. It was really helpful. And the only questions, the remaining 20%, were really kind of specific to B2B sales, which we didn't hear a whole lot of questions being asked. Most of it was B2C. But as you've pointed out before, Perry, like, give me a little bit of your take. And I know we won't go off traffic too much about the fallacy of thinking, well, it wasn't just about B2B.
I have my own bias with Myron's content. I think a lot of it, having gone through it in Ben Hardy's and other courses, it's like it feels so catered towards coaching. And so I want to acknowledge I have my own feelings of resistance towards aspects of it, where I'm like, that's not going to work. This is just, everyone here has got a YouTube channel and coaching, and that's what they want to do. And if they're not that, it doesn't work. So I have my own drama with that. But I do think B2C versus B2B, at the end of the day, there is a decision maker in a B2B scenario, right? There's always a decision maker, maybe two. A lot of times for, small, medium business, it's a founder, an owner, CEO. It's like, that's still a person. You're still doing B2C. It's like, it's kind of like marketing yourself. It's like, you're marketing yourself with your resume. You're marketing yourself when you go on a date. You're marketing yourself when, all the time, constantly. And so it's like, it's still really you're still working with one person. So I do think there's a fallacy of getting caught up in this whole thing of like, oh, B2C versus B2B versus like, direct to consumer. Like you just add all these layers in, but at the end of the day, it's humans interacting with other humans, and the capacity and the principles, and that stuff doesn't change. The psychology of that interaction is largely the same.
Yeah, I agree. Once you pointed that out, once you kind of whittled it down, I totally agree.
So what else? Obviously the excitement dies down the week after, because when you go through these courses, it feels like there's so many good ideas that come out of it. But the reality is, and Myron would probably say this too, after going to Make More Offers Live, this was the one thing. At the end of that whole week-long experience, they're like, listen, we give you all this exciting information, but the reality is the statistics are the majority of you aren't going to apply any of this, let alone one principle to your business, and most of you will never hit the 7-figure mark. And most small, medium business in America is stuck around 250,000 or less.
Because change is difficult to make.
It is difficult, and I think it's
easier to stay put.
The best mindset is like just going in and changing one thing and seeing how that works. I know it's exciting to do all the things, and I think that can be a little bit of a ridiculous thing. It's also like A/B testing, right? Like how do you know what really changed and moved the needle if you've tested so many different variables? So how are you feeling a couple days out of the course now, looking back, has it been less impactful or less exciting or whatever than you thought it was maybe last week when we were reviewing it?
No, my thoughts on the value I got out of the course have not changed at all. I feel more hopeful than I did on Friday because since then, on Saturday after that bonus course, we actually got a chance to really get on a whiteboard, and you and I got to align on 4 things we wanted to try. And they're all somewhat related, actually. And they all come down to niching down into a specific space for InstaHear. And that allows us, the reason for that is it allows us to take Myron's feedback on making the transformation offer very clear to who you're speaking to. And it's really difficult to do that if you're trying to go after a bunch of different use cases, as is the case with the business we're currently running with AI phone assistants. So I left feeling a lot more hopeful. Now I also left feeling like there's a lot of lists on that board right behind you. And so I'm excited about starting to actually get into the work on making some of the changes that Myron recommended.
Yeah, I'm also excited. I think, going into Myron's course, obviously people watching don't know. They know Myron's course and that we're reviewing it, but they don't know like the book, The Dip or whatever, and the involvement that had. And how that kind of lines up with Myron's, content. And I think, that was big too, of like putting a time frame on it, putting some goals on it and saying like, we want to get to this, or we want to get to this amount, we're going to test these variables. And if we don't see signs of life by this time, then like, we'll have to, figure out what fork in the road we want to take next. I'm excited for that part of it, and not because I want to be out of it or move on. I just want to do the thing that I was put here to do. And Myron talks about that a lot in his like Bible study content, about like Solomon's prayer of like, he has this like shortened, abbreviated version of it, which is like, Lord, give me the wisdom to do the thing you put me here to do in a way that pleases you and serves the people you put me here to serve, or something to that effect. And I think, that's like where I find the hope. I'm like, I just want to make that decision sooner rather than later. It feels like some of it is outside of our control. Like we're going to apply these things, we're going to try these principles, but it still could be the wrong time. It could be the wrong market. We could be missing something. And so I'm just excited to like add some pressure to test the system, So yeah, what was my other question? There was a third part. So
you asked about the book, the 16-word sales letter. So I ended up purchasing, I believe, 15 books from Myron's course that he had recommended. When successful people mention books, and I take note of that, and I generally like to hear it said a couple times from people before I actually pull the trigger, but when it's someone as successful as Myron, then it was pretty easy for me to go on to eBay and buy those books pre-owned, and I got them like largely on a markdown. And so they are all coming in over the next 2 weeks. I'm very looking forward to doing that. The 16-word sales letter, which was not on eBay, I had to buy that full price on Amazon, is an excellent book, and that's definitely going to help me. I'm glad I read that as my first book. It took about a day to read. It was about 90 pages, and that's going to help me refine the transformation pitch that we make, and that copy is what would go on to the website. It will go into future sales proposals, and it also go into follow-up emails. So I think there's a lot of value in the books that Myron recommended, and I look forward to crushing them all this summer.
The last question I'll ask before we end is, having read that book now, do you feel like you have a greater sense of who Myron is?
Yes, because the book really was in parallel to so many of his techniques during the 5-day course.
Did it fill any puzzle pieces in?
It made it seem like Myron's not the only one who knows all these secrets of success. I think the content that Myron teaches is out there in other masterminds and other similar successful business coaches. And so that gave me optimism, because Myron pointed out, I'm very blessed to be in the position I'm in, but there's no reason you can't be as successful as me. And I truly believe that. And so when I read those other books and I saw the parallels between his bonus offer that he made us for the boot camp, it just made me realize you just have to, Myron always said it, you have to get comfortable teaching yourself new things, and what you don't know is what's costing you money. And so much of that right now for us is in sales. And so I really look forward to uncovering more and more of that wisdom in the books.
All right, so I lied. There's one last TLDR question, 3 questions in one. Is it worth it at an $800 price point to ask a question? Is it worth it at VIP for $300? Is it worth it at general admission to not have access to that extra hour of questions at $9,700?
It's for sure worth it at VIP, and I would definitely say it's worth it at Platinum. The Platinum folks in our session, they got to ask Myron 4 questions. And if you look at Myron's hourly coaching rate of, what is it, 40,000 or 45K an hour, that's a deal, because they got to basically ask a question on Monday, then they got to ask a question on Tuesday. They got to build upon all these questions. They got to think about how they would actually implement it. And so it was kind of this like rapid succession of coaching. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. If I was to do it, I mean, I'm considering doing it actually again in maybe 14 days now, and actually doing the VIP session with Platinum so I can actually ask questions based on the work that I do from now until then. And if I have specific questions where I get stuck, I think that would be a tremendous opportunity as a follow-up to build upon those skills.
Yeah, I mean, if each question was 5 to 10 minutes of response from him, you start getting to a big chunk of an hour of consulting. If an hour of consulting is 40,000 at his, it's just like the maths pretty well if you're doing a Platinum plan. So yeah, and I don't know if general admission is really worth it at 97, because you could probably find that content somewhere else. Obviously,
you could find it in Boss Man Moves book, Boss Moves book. He says that. He goes, everything that I'm saying on this course is in the book. Obviously, this is a lot more engaging of a format. We all know that when you pay for something, when you pay more than you're paying for a book, you're going to probably be in tune. I think the same thing is the case when you pay for Platinum. It's worth more in your eyes, and you're going to spend more time to do the reps. So there is value in paying for something just because you're committed at that point. It's a bigger commitment than a book that can just sit on your shelf and, I'll get to it. Like when you time box it into a week, you're crazy if you don't show up for every single course.
Yeah, and especially because the recordings don't last that long. Okay, cool. So I guess it's a pretty glowing endorsement. Well, I guess we'll do another video to see how our test goes here, implementing these couple things, and we can report back. But that's it for this whole little segment on Myron Golden's Make More Offers series. We'll see you in the next one.